You won't have to strive for it. You won't have to manipulate it. You won't have to campaign for it, because what's coming to you isn't the result of hustle. It's the reward of honor. The honor you've shown when no one clapped. The integrity you held when compromise would have been easier. The quiet obedience that no platform celebrated but heaven applauded in secret. All of it was recorded. All of it was seen. Every moment you whispered, "God, I trust you," while tears streamed down your face, was noted in heaven's archives. You thought you were being ignored, passed over, forgotten, but the delay was never absence. It was amplification. Heaven wasn't saying no, it was saying, "Not yet. The fullness is still forming." And now the fullness has arrived. This is not the hour of small upgrades. This is the hour of total transformation, the kind that reaches down into your bloodline and changes everything, the kind that flips the script and rewrites the legacy. You've entered into a time when the acceleration will make your head spin, not from stress, but from awe. You'll wake up in places you once only dreamed of. You'll receive calls you never expected. You'll hear your name spoken in rooms you've never stepped foot in, but you won't be shocked, because your spirit has already seen it. Your spirit has known this was coming. You've walked through too much to end up empty-handed. And God is too intentional to let your story finish with a whisper. He's writing your next chapter in bold strokes, with ink made from perseverance, painted on pages that only purpose can hold. You're not just stepping into prosperity, you're stepping into divine positioning, the kind of wealth that carries weight. Not just zeros in a bank account, but influence that echoes into eternity, authority that reshapes culture, insight that unlocks strategies for the kingdom. And the doors opening before you are not ordinary doors. They're generational gates, the kind of gates that were shut tight by generational curses, trauma, betrayal, addiction, poverty, brokenness. But when you walk through them, they won't just open for you. They'll swing wide for everyone coming after you. You're not just being elevated, you're becoming a blueprint, a map for others to follow, a walking testimony that says, yes, God still raises up the ones no one believed in. And there will be people who won't understand it, people who will look at you and try to figure out how it happened. But there will be no formula to copy, because this wasn't formula, this was faith. Raw, trembling, unseen, relentless faith, the kind that held on through storms, the kind that shouted praise in the valley, the kind that refused to bow to fear, to scarcity, to compromise, the kind that stared rejection in the face and said, "I still believe." And because of that belief, you're now walking into a manifestation that is holy in its weight and unstoppable in its momentum. This is divine favor, not man-made influence. You didn't climb some ladder. You were lifted by unseen hands. You were elevated by grace, promoted by promise. And now that promise is becoming tangible. What you once saw in dreams, what you once imagined while lying awake at night, what you scribbled in notebooks no one ever read, it's all becoming visible, real, inevitable. You are the fulfillment of promises made to your ancestors. Prayers whispered generations ago are being answered through your life. Your rise isn't isolated, it's historic. It's heaven keeping a covenant that stretches beyond time. What you break through now will liberate people you may never meet. What you steward now will become the shelter others find safety in. Because this is not about fame, it's about foundation. You are the foundation for a new thing, a holy thing, a kingdom thing. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's big. Yes, it's more than you thought you could carry, but you're not carrying it alone. Heaven is with you. Favor is surrounding you. Provision is chasing you. The wind of God is behind you, and everything you need will meet you as you move. Resources, partners, instructions, divine appointments, they're already scheduled on heaven's calendar. All you have to do is walk. Walk by faith. Walk without apology. Walk with authority. Because this land belongs to you. This territory was promised to you. And no devil in hell can stop what God has already put in motion. And if you're wondering if this really includes you, let me make it clear. It does. You are not disqualified. Not by your past. Not by your pain, not by your failures, not by your doubts. You are not too late. You have not missed it. Everything that felt like a detour was really a delivery route. And now the delivery has arrived. You are being summoned into rooms you didn't even know existed, elevated into roles you didn't apply for, called into assignments you didn't think you were ready for. But you are. You were born for this, forged for this. Your capacity was expanded in the pain. Your discernment was sharpened in the waiting. Your heart was made pure in the fire. And now, because you refused to quit, the heavens have declared, it's time. So now the question is not whether it will happen. It already is. The question is, will you recognize it? Will you accept it? Will you allow your spirit to stretch wide enough to contain the magnitude of what is being delivered into your life? Because this is not a trial run. This is not a test. This is the unveiling, the divine manifestation, the fulfillment of things spoken long ago over your bloodline, your name, your soul. You have crossed a threshold in the unseen. You've shifted from hoping to holding, from waiting to walking. You've shifted from survival mode to supernatural overflow. You're not just stepping into a new season, you've stepped into a new dimension, one where everything looks the same on the outside, but everything has changed in the spiritual. And soon the physical will have no choice but to catch up. Soon the evidence will match the expectancy. Soon the signs that only your faith once saw will be broadcast for the world to witness. But remember, this is not about being seen. This is about being sent. You're not rising for attention. You're rising for assignment. You've been commissioned by heaven to carry a message, a mantle, a mission. The wealth that's coming is not just financial. It's revelatory, strategic, transformative. It's an answer to a cry in the earth. It's heaven's solution arriving in human form through you. There are blueprints encoded in your spirit, strategies waiting to be unlocked, wisdom stored in your wounds. Every painful experience, every silent battle, every time you ask God why, it was a layer being added to the oil you now carry. You don't just carry inspiration, you carry impartation. You don't just carry ideas, you carry instructions. You don't just carry dreams, you carry destiny. And people will be drawn to you not because of charisma, but because of what's been cultivated in your consecration. They will sense the weight. They will feel the authority. They will know there's something different. And it's not pride, it's power. It's the kind of power that comes from years of pressing, of praying, of praising when there was no reason to. And now the reward is being released, not just for endurance, but for obedience. You were obedient when it didn't benefit you, obedient when it cost you, obedient when it made you look foolish. But obedience always invites overflow. and your overflow is here. Don't be surprised when the old world no longer fits. Don't be alarmed when old habits feel heavy, old spaces feel small, old relationships feel unfamiliar. You've been expanded. Your spirit has grown beyond the borders that once held you. You're no longer compatible with limitation, no longer aligned with lack. The old version of you cannot carry this new reality. The old language won't work. The old posture won't fit. The old insecurities can't survive in this new atmosphere. Let them fall. Let them die. Let them make room for the new. Because this is the season where God makes all things new. Not some things, all things. New levels of clarity, new realms of strategy, new circles of connection, new depth of intimacy with heaven. And you won't have to strive to maintain it. Because when God builds it, He sustains it. When God opens the door, you don't have to knock. When God calls your name, you don't have to shout to be heard. You just show up. Fully, authentically, boldly. No more shrinking, no more second-guessing, no more asking for permission to walk in what's already yours. You don't need validation from people who never saw your vision. You don't need approval from voices that never heard your promise. You were validated by God. You were approved by the one who formed you. And if heaven said yes, no human opinion can say otherwise. The weight of this moment is sacred. The stillness around you is not empty. It's echoing with the sound of heaven's plans coming into alignment. This is not hype. This is holy. You are not chasing miracles. You are becoming one. And everything you touch from this point forward will carry the residue of what heaven just released over your life. Every conversation, every idea, every handshake, every step you take will be divinely charged with purpose. What once took years will now take days. What once seemed impossible will now become your new normal. Not because you're lucky, not because you finally got it all together, but because it is time, appointed, set, unstoppable. And now that it's begun, it cannot be undone. No force in hell can rewind what heaven has already spoken. No resistance can erase what God has inscribed into the blueprint of your being. This is irreversible. It's written in eternal ink. The promise doesn't expire. The blessing doesn't evaporate. The release doesn't require a committee or consensus. It only required one thing, your yes. And you gave it, not with grand gestures, but with quiet faith. You said yes when it hurt. You said yes when you were scared. You said yes when it made no sense. You said yes in tears, in silence, in secret. And now all of heaven has responded to your yes with divine motion. You are being pulled by grace into places that favor alone can't explain. You're being seated at tables your name was never on until now. Because heaven just wrote your name in rooms that used to ignore you. Heaven just opened gates guarded by giants you were never meant to fight, because the victory was already yours. This isn't the result of struggle. It's the manifestation of surrender. It's what happens when a heart stays pure in the fire, when a soul stays soft in the stretching, when a spirit stays faithful when the world is shouting doubt. You didn't come this far just to arrive. You came this far to ignite, to spark something eternal, to light fires in dry places, to speak life into valleys, to wake up other sleeping warriors with the sound of your breakthrough. Because what's happening to you is not just about you. You're a conduit, a vessel, a delivery system for the promises of God to flood into the earth. What's coming through you is greater than what's happening to you. Your breakthrough will become someone else's blueprint. Your obedience will become someone else's open door. Your transformation will be the answer to someone else's desperate cry. You are now walking in harvest that carries generational ripple effects, and it will keep flowing, not by force, not by might, but by the Spirit of the living God who has chosen you, yes you, to be the one who turns curses into covenants, the one who shifts cycles of lack into rivers of abundance, the one who takes ashes and builds altars, the one who said, "Use me," and truly meant it. And now, because you meant it, because you surrendered your ego, because you laid your will down, God is doing what only He can do. He's lifting you, not to be seen, but to see from a new vantage point, to understand from a heavenly perspective. You will begin to discern movements before they happen. You'll hear whispers before they become headlines. You'll sense the weight of moments while others are distracted by noise, because your ears have been tuned in the quiet, your eyes have been refined in the waiting, and your hands have been trained for holy work. What you're carrying now is not heavy because it's burdensome. It's heavy because it's sacred. You were never carrying a dream. You were carrying a destiny, and destiny always comes dressed in weight. But this weight won't break you. It will build you. It won't exhaust you. It will energize you. Because heaven always funds what it assigns. Heaven always equips what it entrusts. And you, beloved, have been entrusted. You've been entrusted with influence that cannot be bought, with wisdom that cannot be learned in classrooms, with authority that cannot be faked. And every step you take now is an echo into the earth that says, something new has begun. You don't have to make announcements. Your presence will speak. You don't have to prove anything. Your fruit will testify. You don't have to defend your elevation. The oil speaks for itself. And when people ask, "How did you do it?" you'll simply smile, not out of pride, but out of peace, because you'll know the answer was never how. It was always who. The one who saw you before the crowd, the one who picked you when you were still covered in scars, the one who walked with you when no one else did, the one who waited patiently while you healed, wept, doubted, hoped, and rose again, the one who called your name when you were too broken to speak it for yourself. And now you rise, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a vessel, a living letter written by grace, signed by fire, sealed with glory. And this is only the beginning. The billionaire breakthrough has started, but the impact of it will keep unfolding like a river without end, like a sunrise that never fades. You are now living in the overflow. Stay faithful, stay ready, because the world has not yet seen what heaven is about to reveal through you. And so it continues, not as a fleeting moment, not as a spark that fizzles, but as a divine wave gaining momentum with every step you take in faith. The atmosphere around you is thick with promise now. The air you breathe carries purpose. Everything feels different because it is. The ground beneath your feet has shifted. You are no longer walking on uncertainty. You are walking on prophecy. Every step forward is being watched by heaven and noticed by hell, because when someone truly steps into destiny, the realms respond. Hell trembles because it knows you're no longer wandering, you're aligned. Heaven rejoices because your yes has given God full permission to flood your life with favor that has no limit. You're not hoping anymore, you're harvesting. You're not dreaming anymore, you're building. and every piece of resistance you faced before this moment was simply the last gasp of an old season losing its grip on you. The weight of what you carry now is not random. It's a mantle forged in fire and baptized in waiting. This is the moment prophets saw in glimpses and generations longed to see. And now it's here, living, breathing, unfolding in you. You've become the answer someone else is praying for. You've become the door someone else needs to walk through. You've become the light that will shine in someone else's dark. Your testimony is turning into someone else's survival manual. Your life is no longer just your own. It's a sign, a signal, a living confirmation that God still chooses the broken, that God still uses the overlooked, that God still raises the least likely and crowns them with glory no one saw coming. You are no longer becoming, you have become. And yet, even now, there's more, because with God, there's always more. This billionaire breakthrough is not confined to numbers or currency. It's not about the size of your bank account. It's about the size of your impact. Billionaire means multiplied influence. Billionaire means divine stewardship. Billionaire means heaven trusts you to carry what others would waste. You're being trusted with souls, with cities, with strategies that shape culture, with vision that births institutions, with wisdom that solves problems governments haven't cracked. You're being given access not because you climbed, but because you bowed. And the lower you went in humility, the higher heaven has lifted you. You weren't climbing a ladder, you were being rooted. And now that your roots run deep, your branches can stretch without breaking. The winds will blow, yes, but you will not bend. The storms will rise, but you will not fall. Because what's within you is unshakable, and what's on you is undeniable. People will look for a blueprint and find only surrender. They'll search for your secret and find only sacrifice. They'll wonder how you advanced so quickly and realize you were walking when they were waiting. You were obeying when they were calculating. You were moving when they were hesitating. And that's the real currency, faith in motion. Heaven doesn't invest in ease. It invests in endurance. And you have endured more than anyone knows. The breaking, the stripping, the loneliness, the confusion, none of it was wasted. All of it was preparation. You were never being punished. You were being purified. And now, what once felt like loss will look like leverage. What once felt like failure will look like foundation. What once felt like isolation will now be understood as incubation. God hid you so he could build you without interference, so he could speak without outside voices interrupting, so he could grow you beyond your past, beyond your pain, beyond what anyone expected. And now, your elevation will speak for itself, not with noise, but with fruit, not with flash, but with favor. You will walk into places and things will shift, not because you demanded it, but because your presence is now evidence of what God can do with a surrendered life. You will be invited into rooms to solve problems no one else could. You will be given access to nations not for prestige, but for purpose. And the best part, it won't just bless you. It will bless through you. Your breakthrough will break open pathways for others. Your prosperity will become provision for dreams not yet born. And every single time you pour out, heaven will refill you again and again and again. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep listening, because the pace may change, but the promise will not. This path you're on is no longer about arrival, it's about overflow. You are not walking to find favor, you are walking from favor. The windows of heaven have already opened. The oil has already been poured. The angels have already been dispatched. Your steps are now accompanied by supernatural momentum, the kind that carries you further in 1 month than you moved in years. What once exhausted you will now empower you. What once confused you will now make perfect sense. The delays that made you question your calling were actually lining up divine timing, so that when you stepped into your moment, every resource, every ally, every divine appointment would be waiting, not late, not early, but exactly when needed. There is no going back. The bridges to old ways have been burned, not as a punishment, but as protection. You are not who you were when you began. You've been remade in fire and faith, in silence and stretching. And now, the version of you rising from the ashes isn't wounded, it's wise. Not timid, but tempered. Not fractured, but forged. You are no longer praying for survival. You are now stewarding revival, and it starts with you. Revival of vision, revival of purpose, revival of identity. God is restoring the years that were stolen, the moments that felt wasted, the seasons that seemed barren. Every time you thought it was over, heaven was just beginning. Every setback was a setup. Every closed door was a course correction. You weren't being blocked, you were being built. And now the building is complete, the foundations secure. You are ready to carry what others could not, ready to receive what others weren't willing to wait for, ready to be entrusted with weight that others tried to steal too soon. You didn't rush it. You respected the process. You waited when it would have been easier to force. You stayed when walking away seemed more logical. You prayed when silence was your only reply. And because of that, you've graduated into trust with heaven. You've passed the tests no one saw. And heaven is responding not with hints, but with harvest. The kind of harvest that doesn't trickle, it floods. The kind of breakthrough that isn't whispered, it shouts. You're about to live in answered prayer so loud, it will drown out every voice of doubt that ever tried to speak against you. And it won't just shift your reality, it will silence your past. Shame won't fit in this new space. Guilt won't follow you into this elevation. Fear won't find you here. You've outgrown it all. And now, as you begin to see the pieces coming together, you'll realize this was never random. This was always written. Every person who left had to leave. Every delay had to happen. Every heartbreak had to break something in you that would have blocked this next level. Every detour was a divine disguise. And now you'll thank God for the things that didn't work out. You'll praise Him for the doors that closed, because now you understand they weren't rejections. They were redirections. You weren't being denied. You were being defined. And now that the definition is complete, the unveiling begins. People will see the evidence, but only you and heaven will know the cost. Only you will remember the nights you held on with trembling faith, the mornings you rose with nothing but a whisper of hope, the moments when you were empty and still chose to pour. That's why this is your billionaire breakthrough, because you didn't ask for comfort, you asked for calling. You didn't chase applause, you chased assignment. And now, God is showing the world what He can do with a life laid down. This is not hype, this is holy, this is not borrowed, this is birthright, and you are walking in it now, fully, freely, fearlessly. And now, beloved, As this story reaches its closing rhythm, feel this truth settle deep in your bones. The final chapter was never about the end, but about the emergence. The emergence of the real you. The you that heaven saw before time began. The you that trials couldn't break, that loss couldn't erase, that silence couldn't silence. The you that was hidden for seasons, refined in secret, and now revealed with sacred force. This is not the end of the journey. It is the moment your soul has waited for all along. The moment you rise, not as a version of who the world thought you'd become, not as a reaction to the pain you walked through, but as the original design, the blueprint of purpose wrapped in flesh, wrapped in glory, wrapped in yes. And now everything makes sense. The waiting, the weeping, the wondering, the doors that slammed, the ones that never opened, the people who couldn't stay. You don't carry bitterness anymore. You carry understanding. You see it clearly now. They weren't strong enough to walk where you're going. The road was narrow, but it had to be, because what you carry is too valuable to be touched by careless hands. You were set apart, not rejected, pruned, not punished, held back, not held down. And the moment you thought you lost everything, that was actually the moment God removed what couldn't come with you into glory. You were never losing. You were being loosed. Loosed from expectations, loosed from generational chains, loosed from fear, loosed from the lies that tried to tell you you were too late, too broken, too different. Because in God's hands, different is destiny. And now the spotlight of heaven is not on your past, it's on your feet. Because your feet are moving, your steps are ordered. The ground beneath you is fertile, and everywhere you walk, favor will follow. Not because of striving, not because of performance, but because of alignment. This final stretch isn't powered by pressure, it's fueled by peace. You'll rest in motion, you'll be elevated without ego, you'll build without burnout. And the same God who led you through fire will now guide you through fulfillment. He didn't bring you this far to tease you. He brought you this far to trust you, because now you don't just carry the promise, you are the promise. So breathe deep, stand tall, wipe your tears, not because you're pretending to be strong, but because the storm has passed and the sun is rising. And as it rises, so do you, into new levels of clarity, of calling, of courage, into the fullness of all you were born to be. This is not the end of your story. This is the unveiling of your assignment. This is the release of your inheritance. This is the day the scrolls of heaven declared would come, when the last would be first, when the misfit would be the messenger, when the burdened would become the builder, when the quiet one would carry the sound of revival. This is that day, your day, not for applause, not for attention, but for alignment, for authority, for abundance that will flow through your hands into generations you'll never meet, for stories that will begin where your testimony left off. You've been faithful, you've been refined, you've been chosen, and now you are released. This was the Billionaire Breakthrough, and it has only just begun.